There it is. It's done. And I hope it hurt.
Oh, shit. Fuck, you okay, Craig?
There's a type of filmmaking that can be found across almost any genre, known as the one-room set. As self-explanatory as that is, a one-room set is characterized by the film spending the majority, if not all of its runtime in a single location. One-room sets often have the ability to immerse you on an even greater level than usual from beginning to end. Since you're just as stuck in the situation as the characters are, its dialogue is what's most important in these instances, with realistic conversations and relatable talk only adding to the immersiveness of the setting. Before I delve into the video's main topic, I'd like to detour and unfold some of these subgenre films. One-room set movies typically have an easy to follow plot, and these examples tend to share that common foundation.
Jennifer! Hi, yeah, it's me. I can't make it. Well, tell your disappointment to suck it. I'm doing a bottle episode.
My first example would be 12 Angry Men. Widely considered one of the all-time best pieces of cinema with a number 8 ranking on IMDb, a simple and effective premise. A jury holdout attempts to prevent a miscarriage of justice by forcing his colleagues to reconsider the evidence.
Take a look at this knife. It's a very unusual knife. I've never seen one like it. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to the boy. Aren't you asking us to accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm just saying a coincidence is possible.
And I say it's not possible.
Where did that come from?
The bulk of the film features the jurors discussing the details of the case, with no cutaways. What 12 Angry Men succeeds in doing is tackling the various social archetypes each juror possesses and how their biases might hinder their judgment accordingly. As the film progresses, one man slowly persuades 11 strangers into reconsidering their own beliefs, which ultimately shapes the verdict of the case. One of my personal favourite films, Reservoir Dogs, explores the aftermath of a jewel heist gone wrong. The story unfolding as increasingly paranoid thieves begin to suspect each other of being a police informant. Tensions and emotions run higher the more the suspicion creeps in. Despite there being frequent cutaways to flashbacks in various locations, the film's present setting is in the open space of a warehouse after the supposed action. The charisma of all involved is a crucial part of making this a memorable one-set film, and Reservoir Dogs helped it become a staple in any Tarantino film.
God damn you, Joe. Don't make me do this.
Larry, stop pointing that fucking gun at my dad!
Congratulations, you are still alive. Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you. Not anymore.
Horror or thriller films most commonly seem to be the genres making use of the single set premise. Despite the obvious benefits of the budget, it's also an effective way to set up a pretty frightening concept. Just picture yourself or your loved one in some of these claustrophobic situations. Locked in a coffin, stuck in an elevator, trapped on a chairlift, held captive by a sniper in a phone booth. Saw was an ambitious low-budget horror film in the same vein as films like Cube, taking advantage of a simple yet intriguing synopsis. Two strangers who awaken in a room with no recollection of how they got there soon discover their pawns in a deadly game perpetrated by a notorious serial killer. As someone who reluctantly admits to have seen the entire Saw franchise, many viewers consider the original to be the best of the series. The first entry is quite different from what the rest of the franchise has explored. I absolutely loved the original for many years, and for the most part I still do. However, re-watching it recently left me with slight disappointment, due to just how much time is spent on cutaways and flashbacks. The movie suffers from unnecessary recaps of scenes we watched 10 minutes ago. As this film isn't the main topic of today's video, I'll hold off sharing any deep thoughts or criticisms. It's merely just an example of having the one-room set and it unfortunately not being as effective as it could very well have been. A majority of this was due to time restrictions and post-production issues, but regardless, Saw became one of the most profitable horror films of all time, and to this day, almost everyone knows where Billy the Puppet came from.
Game over.
The three examples I've listed all come from different decades and multiple genres with a similar blueprint along with simple plots. It's reassuring for the audience and filmmakers that a simple idea on a tight budget can yield fantastic results. Now for the main focus of today's video. Cheap Thrills is a black comedy thriller, the feature film debut of E.L. Katz. This 85-minute adrenaline-fueled experience depicts two long-lost high school friends going head-to-head in dares and challenges for money. And as the night progresses, the challenges transition from harmless fun to acts that push the limits of dignity, morality, and even humanity.
Okay. But let me tell you this, no matter how much money's in that box, I am not sucking his dick.
Cheap Thrills quickly establishes Craig, played by Pat Healy, as our main focus. He's presented as an everyman trying to provide for his wife and newborn child. Financially, they're struggling. The mortgage payment is overdue and Craig has been let go from his job. With no idea on what to do, he turns to a local bar to drown in his sorrows. This is where we meet the film's deuteragonist, Vince, played by Ethan Embry. They bond over lost time and catch up on what has happened over the past 5 years. Craig gives the impression that he has a successful life. Wife, child, home, but the charade doesn't last long. With zero idea on how to deliver the bad news to his wife, Craig informs Vince that he desperately needs $4,500 to keep him and his family from homelessness. The complete opposites of these two is what makes their interaction so interesting. It's interesting to imagine what these guys were like back in high school. Craig is very guarded and shy, whilst Vince is blunt and confident, a perfect combination for what will ultimately transpire. Craig heads to the restroom and notices a stranger throwing his cocaine-filled $50 note in the toilet. A simple yet subtle message: will you get your hands dirty for money, and how dirty will you get them? It's a nice touch that we actually don't see Craig take the money, further hinting at the night ahead. Returning to the bar, Vince has now become acquainted with the very same stranger. It's Colin, accompanied by his girlfriend Violet. They're played by David Koechner and Sarah Paxton respectively. It's Violet's birthday and the couple is out to celebrate. He makes it known quite early that he has a considerable amount of expendable cash. He is way beyond the line of obnoxiousness.
There's a $300 bottle of tequila.
Oh my. Oh, this is embarrassing. Let's, yeah, it's fine. What's your name?
Karen.
Karen with a K or a C?
C.
There you go, Karen with a C.
Despite that though, he's an engaging and even charismatic character. Colin does a good job of making Craig and Vince feel like one of the gang. He expresses interest in their relationship and work life, while at the same time undermining their financial situation.
So anyway, what do you guys do for a living anyway? You like, work at a car wash or something, or...
Oh, you mean because of the monkey suit?
Well, I didn't know. No offense.
No,
I assumed manager.
Photos are established early on as a means to document their evening's progression, very soon after the intent of this relationship begins. Colin's beginning dare of the night, a simple one at best. First to drink a shot earns $50. The dares start out relatively harmless. Colin continues to be obnoxious with money as they transition to a strip club. Craig is hesitant to join them, expressing a desire to go home, but Vince implores him to spend time with a long-lost friend. Vince's plea works, but the strip club doesn't last long, as the gang makes haste after another dare, one involving slapping a stripper on a no-touching area. Craig finds himself at the receiving end of an enraged bouncer. What happens next is possibly the last time everyone is joyful at the same time.
You the one who hit one of our girls?
No, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I swear to God.
You lying piece of shit. Fuck you. Craig, $500 if you hit him first.
What I love about this scene is the amount of sheer joy Craig has on his face after throwing the punch. It's a simple "I can't believe I just did that." Although the smile only lasts a few seconds, it's a great moment. Now the film opens into its second act, where it transitions into much more of a one-set film, taking place at Colin and Violet's home. Craig emerges from unconsciousness bloodied and disoriented. Colin reassures and compliments him, making a good point about how no matter what else happens in the rest of their lives, neither Craig nor Vince will ever forget this night. Once the group is in Colin's lair, this is where the dares become more overly vulgar, pitting them against one another rather than involving random bystanders, and progressively turning these friends into rivals. After some let's say undesired fluids land on Craig, both friends make haste to the bathroom where Vince spills his plan.
I'm gonna rob him.
Craig is hesitant to say the least, but Vince brushes away his concerns and convinces him to be a part of it. The robbery is short-lived. As it's revealed, Colin is more than well equipped to deal with physical confrontations. Now something weird happens. Instead of being thrown out or worse, Colin is adamant about literally hitting the reset button and forgetting the past 15 minutes. I don't think I need to point out how strange that is. It's revealed that the money they just tried to steal was actually intended for them. All funds are invested for this game that they've been partaking in since the meeting. We have now reversed back to the dares.
This is the past, all right? We're in the present. Didn't exist. Let's start over. Let's reset. I'm cool with it. Are you cool with it?
Okay.
Guys, all right, so we're cool.
We're cool.
Let's push play.
As childish as two can be, the two are pit against each other in a breath-holding contest. The couple are slowly dismantling their friendship. Violet antagonizes Vince during the contest, chipping away at their bond and transforming it into a rivalry as some more dares transpire that are a little less safe to show on YouTube. From defecation on the floor of a stranger's home to Craig having sex with Violet.
What the fuck?
Craig is becoming less of the supposed guy to cheer for as he continues to dismiss his morals and vows for financial security, further betraying the viewer's understanding and expectations of Craig. Meanwhile, Vince is becoming more and more agitated, believing he is being robbed of his chances to earn cash and viewing Craig's opportunities as undeserved. Out of desperation, he attempts to steal the next door neighbor's dog and to take care of it. As Colin has expressed an extreme annoyance towards the animal, the offer is hastily denied. With the $4,500 secured, Craig picks himself up as well as any dignity he has left and slips away to return home. When the couple returns and realizes he is missing, the tone of the room changes. Much more than disappointment, Violet looks extremely distressed as the score shifts into darkness, giving a very clear clue that these people are not who they say they are. Once again, Vince expresses his emotions of feeling left out and feeling unloved due to the fact that either Violet nor Colin show any excitement that Vince is still remaining ready for anything. Colin, clearly agitated by Craig's disappearance and Vince's hounding, crudely offers $25,000 for Vince to maim himself by directly cutting off his own pinky finger. Violet plays a cold, dark piano chord reminiscent of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, whilst Colin effortlessly persuades Vince into doing the inhumane act.
Yeah, I'll cut off my pinky.
Awesome. $25,000.
I'll do it for 23.
Oh, shit!
Craig returns, and so does Colin, and Violet's excitement and thus the twisted plan is back on schedule. Vince, whilst not so pleased, as he is once again being cheated out of his opportunity to earn money. Just like a gambler who isn't quitting when he's ahead, Craig dismantles his previous promise to himself and rationalizes his continuation of the game. Money and greed has started to poison him. He has had an opportunity to get out with enough money to allow himself some breathing room to figure out a plan to provide, but he now wants more. He wants to be secured for the next month, and the month after that. He has absolutely no consideration for Vince. At almost no point has he taken any interest or shown any concern for the current financial situation of a former friend who's clearly doing it tough as well. Craig throws a few insults at Vince and belittles his life, calling him lazy, unmotivated, and deeming him undeserving of the cash.
No, but wait, what about me, huh? Every time I go to work, I'm this fucking close to be thrown back in jail, and I don't make that much money, not for what I fucking do.
Nobody told you to drop out of high school. You could have done anything you wanted, but you didn't want to work for it. Your life is exactly what you made it.
Wow. Fuck you.
For someone who hasn't seen his friend in 5 years, with mere minutes of catch-up prior to being introduced to the couple, Craig jumps to a lot of conclusions about how his friend lives his life, perhaps in a ways to justify to himself that what he is doing is right and fair. Craig constantly lowballs the offer, whittling it down to almost half the original amount of money. $15,000 is the end result, with once again Craig being the victor, if one considers that a victory. The goal to pit the friends against each other is here in full fashion, as Colin refuses to take part in the mutilating, resulting in Vince almost enjoying the concept of getting revenge on the man constantly taking away his opportunities. With some understandable hesitation and last-second backouts, Vince catches his friend off guard and does the deed with no notice. Craig frantically screams and runs around, only to find the pinky is still attached to his hand, proceeding to him pulling it off himself and disposing of it like a piece of trash. Colin is absolutely giddy with excitement, talking Craig up like he's the man. The couple have completed their task in making these friends despise each other. The most enjoyable scenes in this film are purely what make the one-set film technique so effective. We as the viewers have seen the friendship slowly crumble, and the film has never taken us away from them. This is my favourite moment of the movie, observing how these two talk to each other now, how money has completely corrupted their morals, values, and perception of one another.
I have responsibilities. I have a life to live. You don't have shit to do but waste the world's oxygen. You're a fucking loser. You know that, Vince?
No, yeah, I do. I know I'm a loser. See, I've always known that. But you really surprised me, Craig. See, because you had parents that loved you. And they took care of you. They sent you to college and got you an education. But look how you fucking turned out. Well, you obviously didn't make it as a writer. I mean, hell, you can't even keep a job changing oil at a fucking car shop. You had to fuck another woman and mutilate yourself just to keep your family off the street. So who's the bigger loser? Huh?
The tension between these two hits its breaking point following the next dare that descends them into madness. Colin has been whipping up something to eat, and once again a dare is involved. Despite the inviting smell, this is no ordinary dish. It's the dog that Vince stole earlier in the night. It had the unpleasant luck of choking on Craig's maimed finger, resulting in its death. The goal is simple. First one to finish eating their portions of dog earns $50,000. And in another horrible way, the couple strip away any humanity remaining of these two and pit them to eat a dog almost like an animal themselves. It's disgusting to watch, and it's more horrific to hear. Violet's subtle, deviant smile is on display whilst the dark score consumes the atmosphere. This isn't fun anymore, and it's only going to get worse. The competition ends with Colin deeming it to be a draw, and in order for there to be a victor, eating Craig's finger is the tiebreaker. Both men run to their potential victory like a pair of dogs playing fetch. Craig lands a few critical blows as the couple eerily hold hands and watch. I know I've reiterated this a couple of times, but Colin and Violet just creep me out. Their whole demeanour is so unnerving. Watching these average people bend to their will is the only reason they're here, and the fact Colin is so good at pretending to be this casual cool party guy makes it so much more effective. Craig swallows his $50,000 finger, claiming victory. The awe of winning is fleeting as Vince gets his revenge by beating half the life out of him. The couple separate them like children to cool down. Vince vents about his friendship and history with his former friend, explaining that back in the day, Craig was a victim of bullying and that Vince would always have his back when anything went wrong. It's upsetting to hear, and he, like Craig, has been completely corrupted by the concept of money. Vince almost repeats exactly what Craig has been saying throughout the second act. Neither deserves the money according to each other. Vince blurts out that in his rage-fueled attack that he almost killed Craig, in which Colin jumps to the idea like a bee on honey. He casually offers $250,000 to murder his old friend. The thought lingers and cuts back to the inside of the house before the conversation ends. Although the concept of murder was just discussed, Colin easily reverts back to a laid-back party host, offering Craig a beer, downplaying the severity of what he just requested. A sideshow is put on display with that familiar eerie score starting to fade in. Violet's photos of the night are unraveled, showing the tragically sad photos of the start of the night, putting their happiness on display, a before and after shot of how money has corrupted their lives. The warm lighting of the night has been present throughout the evening, and now it's gone, replaced with a much more cold and dark tone that's familiar to its genre. The lingering shot of Vince struggling to come to a decision is nail-biting inducing. With Colin faded out in the background, requesting a cab for Craig, time is of the essence and there's very little time left to think this through. Vince pulls out his knife and slowly starts to tread towards Craig. As more and more photos of the night's events are on display, you can really start to see the hurt in Vince's eyes. You can almost read what his mind is saying. He folds his knife and signals the couple. He's not murdering his old friend. Quite possibly the most unsettling part of this film, the pictures reveal that the couple had been taking photos of them prior to even reuniting. Before the group came together, Craig and Vince were already targets for this horrific night.
Craig, let's get the fuck out of here.
Craig kills Vince in a horrific way. Not even having the decency to make it quick, the couple shows signs of relief and pleasure very reminiscent of a climax. Speechless and breathing heavily, with another on the nose shot, Craig's greed and desire for money literally has made him blind. All he has to do is turn around to see that this was all planned from the start, and he, like a good test subject, has given Colin and Violet exactly what they want. Upon Craig's exit, Colin ends the night with one more casual as ever line.
It's been good partying with you, Craig.
A $50 note is passed to Violet, revealing one more twist that they had their own bet on who would commit the final act. Comparing to the most recent dares, $100 being less than pocket change, one more final nod to show how carefree these people are with money and, more importantly, the lives of their subjects. Craig hops into a taxi, all battered and bruised, making his way back to his home. Stumbling inside, dropping wads of bloody cash, he picks up his newborn and comforts her. The movie ends on a great shot. Craig standing in a dimly lit room with a baby crib, toys, and colourful pillows, with his wife looking horrified at the state of her lover. Cheap Thrills was an adrenaline-fueled ride that shifts gears from black humour to grotesque tragedy in a matter of minutes. The film's premise isn't something that's all that original, and in most cases is led with disaster. As someone who's always been a fan of this genre, it's always a disappointment to see a potentially awesome concept executed poorly. For whatever reason it may be, horror particularly seems to fall short when it comes to a simple catchy premise in a confined location. Perhaps it's the character development or a poorly constructed narrative. But this isn't the case for Cheap Thrills. The characters are interesting and are performed terrifically, and you relate to the old friends and understand their motives and emotions. Released in 2013, Cheap Thrills received above average to good scores and reviews. Joe Layden, reviewer for Variety, wrote, "The film is a thoroughly nasty piece of work, which doubtless will be the strongest selling point for this worst case scenario, about steadily escalating dares and degradations. I implore you to check this film out if you haven't already. Cheap Thrills is a great example of creating claustrophobia and isolation inside a single location, and in this case it was Colin and Violet's home."